Is the new Alien movie Alien Romulus worth the hype? Is it better than Ridley Scott's prequels Prometheus and Alien Covenant? Let's dive in and find out.
Run.
Let me give you a quick rundown of the plot first. Rain, the protagonist, is stuck in the miserable dead-end life of Jackson Star, a mine colony. She dreams of escaping to the remote planet Ivaga, where life is rumored to be better, along with her adoptive brother Andy, a damaged humanoid. But their plans are hindered by the greedy Wayland Yutani Corporation.
Denied. Again.
Tyler, Rain's friend, offers her and Andy to visit an abandoned spacecraft and salvage cryonic stasis chambers that could help them and their friends escape to Ivaga. Rain, Andy, Tyler, his pregnant sister Kay, his cousin Bjorn, and Bjorn's girlfriend Navarro fly there using the mining hauler Corvalon. They board the space station Romulus Remus.
Welcome to the Romulus space station.
Unaware that it was a research outpost studying a xenomorph from the USCSS Nostromo, the spaceship from Alien. Now they must survive the attacks of countless xenomorphs and creepy facehuggers while finding a way to escape with the stasis chambers before the station crashes into Jackson's rings. If you're a fan of thrillers, you might notice that the plot of Alien Romulus, directed by Fede Alvarez, is reminiscent of his 2016 movie, Don't Breathe. Both films feature a heroine who, in an attempt to escape a miserable life, ends up in a dreadful situation where she must find a way out or pay with her life. Even the
If you don't stay quiet, we will die.
concept of the sequence is the same. This similarity makes sense since both stories were written by Alvarez and his friend Rodo Sayagues. Together, they've crafted another edge of your sea thriller, this time set in space with a larger scale. The claustrophobic setting and formidable enemy bring back the suspense that made the original Alien franchise so iconic. For the first time since Alien and Aliens, I found myself truly enjoying the thrills whenever the facehuggers and xenomorphs appeared. The action sequences are incredibly well composed and edited, almost as if Alvarez had them all planned out in his head while writing. One of the most memorable moments is when a chest buster is about to erupt from Navarro's chest. The tension is sky high as she struggles and screams. And just when you think it can't get any more intense, Navarro accidentally kicks the steering lever of the Corvalon, sending it spinning and crashing into the Romulus station. The sequence felt almost rhythmic, like a well-composed piece of music. Alien Romulus stands on its own as a story, but also pays homage to its predecessors, especially Alien and Aliens. It brings back the analog look, trading the CG-heavy style of recent prequels for a sense of nostalgia that longtime fans will appreciate. This choice perfectly sets the stage for real horror with its mist-filled rooms, rift-like walls, and unpredictable camouflaging shadows. Something felt missing in Ridley Scott's recent prequels,
Where is it?
and Alien Romulus fills that void. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate both prequels for what they are, but I wanted more aliens and suspense without the weighty existential questions. Alien Romulus delivers that and more, with plenty of Easter eggs and references to the older movies. For example, Ray's new pulse rifle brings back memories of Ripley's M41A pulse rifle, though it's a bit odd since Alien Romulus is set decades earlier, yet the rifle seems more advanced. It was another treat to see an old character return from the 1970 Alien. The character is revived through CGI and, well, it's not exactly the same character technically, but it still worked. I won't give away too much to avoid spoilers. And then there's the drinking bird. A small detail, but a fun one for die-hard fans to spot. Alvarez also pays homage to Alien when Rain puts on a spacesuit preparing for battle against the alien. And the intense moment when a xenomorph, pushes its head close to Rey's face in the elevator shaft echoes the iconic scene from Alien 3, where the alien inspects Ripley. There are plenty of lines that reference older movies too, like
Get away from her, you.
Alien Romulus is packed with nods to the past, and I'm sure there are even more Easter eggs that I haven't mentioned. If you spot any, feel free to share them in the comments. How about the characters and the performances of the main actors? The characters are well developed and relatable, especially Rain and Andy, whose relationship forms a central part of the film. While it may not be deeply moving or tear-jerking, their connection feels genuine and unforced, which is impressive considering the well-worn theme of human-humanoid relationships over the past 50 years or so. Since Steven Spielberg's AI in 2001, no humanoid-human relationship has offered a new perspective or emotional resonance for me. But Alien Romulus does a decent job of making this familiar theme relatable. David Johnson delivers an outstanding performance as Andy, truly bringing the character to life. However, placing a black person in the socially discriminated humanoid role introduces a real-world issue into the story in a way that feels somewhat contrived. So I'm not sure if it was the best choice. Aileen Wu, who plays Navarro, may not have a lot of screen time, but she makes a strong impression with a memorable style and performance. The supporting characters, including Arch Renoir's Tyler, do their jobs well but don't leave a lasting impression. Haley Spaney, who plays the lead role of Rain, leaves a strong impression as a rising star. Her final line to the hybrid creature was especially powerful. It gave me chills. However, I have to admit she's not quite on Sigourney Weaver's levels of charisma yet. Comparing her to Weaver, who played one of the most iconic female characters in film history, might be a bit unfair. The biggest achievement of Alien Romulus is that it sets up a compelling story arc and introduces an intriguing character in Rain, raising expectations for the next installment. While Ridley Scott's prequels explore vast, endless themes, Alien Romulus successfully brings the focus back to character-driven storytelling, with Spaney at the center. Alien Romulus definitely falls into the must-watch on a big screen category, whether it's IMAX or 4DX. This is a movie you don't just watch, you experience it. The sound plays a crucial role, and both Fede Alvarez and composer Benjamin Wallfisch nailed it. There are several epic moments that made my hair stand on end, like when the crew break through the gravitational field of Jackson's star and sees the sun for the first time inside the rattling column. The booming sound and bass vibrations make this scene a real treat in an IMAX theater. Now about 4DX. I often feel like the amusement park style effects can distract from the story, but this movie is a rare exception. While there were a few minor interruptions, the overall experience was fantastic. For instance, when a facehugger jumps at someone's face, or when a xenomorph breathes right in front of another character, you feel the air and water hitting you, making it feel like you are right there in the scene. There were actually several jump scares that had people screaming and moaning, thanks to the spot-on effects used at just the right moments. One of the strengths of this movie is its use of three-dimensional space. The characters don't just move on a flat plane. They shoot up, drop down, float in zero gravity, and even spin around with the Corvolan. These movements are almost perfectly translated in 4DX, allowing you to share in the characters' experiences. It's tough to say which format is better, but 4DX is definitely a fun way to fully experience Alien Romulus. However, if you prefer to focus on the story in a quieter setting, IMAX might be the better choice. I completely agree that Alien Romulus is a great movie. I enjoyed every second of it and would go so far as to say it's one of the best action thriller movies of 2024. However, It's not quite on the level of Alien or Aliens. It lacks that groundbreaking original idea that would make it truly legendary. Expecting it to surpass the original might be too much, but it still does a great job of reviving the franchise. One thing I found lacking was the absence of direct conflict with the Wayland Yutani Corporation, the primary source of evil, as the focus was instead on the battle with the aliens. This made the story feel a bit lighter, almost like an extra edition rather than a main event, if I may exaggerate a bit. However, this also leaves room for future installments to explore this further. A minor criticism is the inconsistency within the series. As I mentioned earlier, the pulse rifle in Alien Romulus seems more advanced than the one in Aliens, which is set decades later. The bigger issue is that a young kid with no military training can defeat xenomorphs more easily than the fully trained elite marines from Aliens with the help of better technology. It doesn't quite make sense from that perspective. However, this isn't a deal breaker. Overall, Alien Romulus is a fantastic movie that seems to have successfully revived the franchise. I've watched it twice and enjoyed it 100% both times. In conclusion, my rating for Alien Romulus is must watch it on a big screen. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.